everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And as everyone knows, this is the Matus Law Group's Heart to Heart series, where we love to chat and talk to people that we really feel it's important for our families to get to know. A lot of times we meet so many people in different areas of practice, different areas of industry. And many times I always think people should know about this person. And so one of the people that I'm so happy that I'm going to spend some time with today, and all of you will get to know, is Kim Borghoff. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So, one of the things that I love, Kim and I are in a networking group together and we got to know each other, but we've also known each other, in other ways, in other transactions that we dealt with. And Kim, to me, is just a fantastic, giving, and wonderful person. But she also, I know her as a realtor, and just a little bit of what I know, but she'll fill everybody in with her background. But she's now a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Zack. She's been a part of them, I believe, just till November 24th, November 2024. But prior to that, she has decades of experience as a realtor. And the one thing that really jumped out at me is that she's a Rutgers alumni like me. So I said, oh, and when I mentioned that to Kim, I was so excited. She goes, I knew I liked you. I said, I knew it too. So,
Yes.
Kim, thank you so much and welcome. You know, being a realtor, I think, is a very demanding job. I've always said, because half our practice that focuses on real estate. But, I've always said to families that, let's rely on your realtor because, you are with these people day in, day out, weekends, holidays, when most people are home because it's their time off. That's your time that you're spending with the families because typically that's their only available time to visit homes and do things and things like that. So I do find it a very demanding position that you have, but when I meet you, you're always so bright and cheery. And because when I think about what you do, I'm looking like it sounds exhausting. So, I
It
don't know if
is
you want to
sometimes.
start and let us know, how did you get into this area of work? I'm just curious.
I never thought I would be a realtor. It's not anything I ever said who I wanted to be. I actually have been a government employee. I just retired. I'm 25 years in the
Congratulations.
court system.
Congratulations.
So that was my career. 9 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He was 51, and we had three children at home. Actually, one was in college, one was going into college, and one was in high school.
Yeah.
And he was the main breadwinner. He was an IT architect. I pretty much was just working for the benefits, being a
Yeah.
state employee.
Mhm.
So when we got this diagnosis, like I said, he was 51, so I was 40,
Yeah.
and I panicked. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, what am I going to do? Now I have to support the family.
Wow.
So I became an admin for a family member who was a realtor. And I got paid $10 an hour. I would work at night when I was home with my husband, and that wasn't doing it. So I also got a third job being a waitress.
Yeah.
I had done that all through college and, when I was younger. So for a couple months, I worked three jobs and it killed me. I couldn't do it anymore. So I stopped being a server and I just did the admin work for about a year. And then I started seeing the commission checks and I was like, wait a minute, I can do this. I can
Yeah.
be a realtor. So, um, of course, my family encouraged me because they knew, I was a little stressed out about how I was going to handle everything. And I went to school 3 nights a week. So I would work at the courthouse and then I would go to school 3 nights a week. I did that. I got my license. My first year, I sold four homes and I
Wow.
was thrilled. My second year was nine homes.
Oh my goodness.
And then my third year is when COVID hit, and I sold 23 homes
During COVID.
during COVID by myself, working full time. So, and then from there, it's just been wonderful.
Oh my
So it's interesting because I truly love what I do.
Yep.
Working for the courts, it was, people aren't happy to come to court. So you deal with a lot of people that aren't happy.
What did you
Um,
do in the court, Kim? Like, what was your position
I
there?
was in management. So my last division was in civil division,
Wow.
and I helped manage the four judges' chambers, their clerks and their support staff. So, it's not it's a rewarding job because you're helping the public, but the people that are coming in aren't happy
No,
usually.
absolutely. And you're
But
absolutely right. It's
when
not,
you're,
and, and the whole atmosphere of the court, it's hard. It's hard,
yes.
it's a
It
hard
is.
area.
It is. So then, with becoming a realtor, I mean, you're helping people, I helping them make the biggest financial decision of their life. So I always tell my clients, I over communicate. You're going to hear from me a million times. I tell you every little step of the way because it's the biggest purchase of their life.
Absolutely.
And just to get to a closing, it's for me, it's not about the commission check. Yes, that's helpful. That helps support my family. But I just love the smiles and thank you so much. And
Uh,
when you have people who think they have to rent the rest of their lives, and then I tell them that you don't need any money down. You can what you're paying for rent, you can buy a home.
right. And you
They're
don't need
just
to get someone's permission to make this change or to do something
no.
or to make any updates or anything like that. It's your
Yeah.
own place. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
And it's
amazing.
it it's just so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
Do you find that, now during your years as you were doing this, has things gotten better or harder? There's a lot of changes, since COVID, lots of changes of how we approach things and how we're dealing with people or how we communicate. And I'm curious, how's that affected you and what you do, Kim?
Yes, it has changed a lot. I am thankful that I have been in the business for so long because I knew how it was prior to COVID. So when COVID came, thousands of agents all of a sudden popped up.
Yeah,
And it was more about the hustle and the bustle and trying to get the offers in and selling the houses and everything like that, where now we're back to the normal of being able to really get to know your client
yeah,
rather than hi, bye. It was very, very quickly where now we can, you're not rushing to get an offer in on the first home.
correct.
So it's more about creating those relationships. I love that. I have several of my clients who, um, not only do they refer me, but we go out to dinner, we go out to lunch. I share my story most of the time about my husband,
Yeah,
which has really connected me with some wonderful people. You
absolutely.
know, I have one couple that I have in mind that we connected in an open house because her husband was there, but he was
Oh,
partially blind.
mm,
And she was talking to me about the struggles of him not being able to work anymore, and they had to downsize. And it's the same exact thing that I had done.
yeah,
So I was able to encourage her, help her through the process. And it was very rewarding because they were so thankful that they were able to sell their big home,
right.
pay down debt, move into a smaller home. And then, I always say, and this goes for anybody who's a caregiver, we cannot live in our own world anymore.
Yeah,
We have to live in their world. My husband is unable to to live in my world. So we have to go into his. So it's
Yeah.
the same thing with that couple. She was so happy that she could now get him in a position where he was happy, he felt comfortable, and she was now being able to, you reorganize your life
Yeah.
to help that person.
And what I love, Kim, is that, and thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, and when you share that, that's where people can really, they get to know you. They feel that you understand what they're going through,
Mhm.
and that you're able to see how big of a deal this is to them, that they appreciate that that these are big steps. There's circumstances in our lives that are very hard and sensitive, and when you share that, that's huge. And I really thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
And it does open your eyes to, what are the other ways that we can help people. And I love that, you were not a victim. You didn't put yourself in a victim mode. You were like, I'm taking action and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to figure a solution. And
Mhm.
I think that is so important, especially for women.
Absolutely.
We are business owners, and a lot of times, what we see on TV and what we hear from other people, they're shaded because being a business owner is challenging, and being a woman also, we have our own series of challenges of how we approach things and how people perceive us. And I was curious, Kim, for any other woman who might be thinking about going into your field, do you have any words of wisdom? Or I always like to say that if you could look at yourself when you first started, what were things that you wish someone told you? And when you were thinking about, like, I think I want to be a realtor. I think I want to and then I'm just curious, because I think that's always valuable.
Yes, it's interesting because I work with an investor, and you know, uh, I work with several investors actually, but you have to demand respect, but in a very sensitive way. I
Mhm.
think as a woman, we're pleasers. We want
Yeah,
to please everybody. We want to, it's a fine line because in the very beginning, very, very beginning, my first year, I would jump at anything, and I still do. I try and schedule things a little bit better now, but because I was new, I would take a lot of um I don't know really know how to say it, but it would be I guess talking down. You
yeah.
know,
No, I
I have
understand.
I have gained a respect for a better respect for myself.
Yes.
And I know that comes from age also,
And
but
an experience, right?
experience.
Because whenever you start something new, there is that fear factor, that and I'll do the same. I don't know everything.
Oh no.
Does it will There are some people who pick on that and use that against us instead of saying, let's grow into it together.
Yes.
It's complicated though, but I love what you're saying. You're right.
Yes. It can be very complicated. And um, not everyone in this field uh, respect each other. So that, I remember the first time I had an agent, and it was a man, and he called me up and he just cursed me up and down. And it was just over a showing. It was over a showing, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I got like teary-eyed and all that. And I'm just like, no, I can't allow people to do this.
Right.
Um, so, I do have a team of five other women.
Wonderful.
And one of the things that we have instilled as our team motto is, women power. And it's really about being sensitive, but also we can do anything. We are in charge of our future.
Yeah.
And my daughter is my partner on the team. which is a lot of clients love that. You know, we
That's
have
so
that
nice.
whole mother-daughter dynamic in the middle
That's
of
awesome.
everything. Um, but I'm an example not only for my team members, but also for my daughter. And when I was going through, when my family, was going through everything with my husband, Jeffrey, I can still I can hear my daughter. I think it was like a year into it. And to be honest, the first year, I cried almost every day.
Yeah.
You know, it was the love of my life was just, I'm like, oh my gosh, they gave my husband 4 to 8 years to live. And we are in year 9, and he's
Okay.
still here.
Okay.
He went on a trial, so he's still here physically, you know, halfway mentally, but still able to communicate. You know, we work very hard to keep everything together.
Oh,
But
Kim, that
my
must have been so hard. That just must have been
yeah,
very,
it
very,
was very hard. And I remember my daughter saying to me, Mom, how do you do this every day? How do you get out of bed?
yeah.
And I just told her, I said, Aubrey, you put your 2 feet on the ground and you go.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, yeah, I could stay in bed and cry all day. You know, it's a horrific disease,
It is.
horrific.
It is.
And when my husband was diagnosed, we actually just had my in-laws move in because my father-in-law had dementia.
Interesting.
So we had our garage converted into a mother-daughter. They moved in. A month later, my husband was diagnosed with it. So it was a very unique situation because
Yeah.
my husband would take care of his father,
Hmm.
and he would come back into our part of the house, and he would be like, Kim, it's like looking in the mirror at my future.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, that's what we lived
Yeah.
for. I believe he lived 3 years with us. So for
Wow.
3 years, my husband, you know, in addition to my mother-in-law, helped bathe his father.
Yeah.
They would feed his father. Like he really
Oh,
took care of him.
and
Um,
and you were doing all of this and then trying to think of how do we keep family afloat and
yes.
financial issues coming up, finding out what's a fit for you, dealing with those things at work and the 3 jobs, and then finding uh that is nothing short of amazing,
Mm,
Kim. And I'm not patting you on the back. I'm just saying I'm acknowledging it because sometimes I also feel when we meet people, we don't know what they've been through and we
no.
don't know what they're going through currently.
Mhm.
But the feeling that I mean, when I deal, when I chat with you and see what you do, you have so much energy. You know what you're doing.
Mhm.
And you always have this positivity with you, and that's huge. Is that was there an influence in your life that showed that to you about the grit that you're going through and things like that?
I have very good support system.
Yeah.
I have very good friends, who when one or two women that if I reach out to, and they just, Kim, you can do it. You can do it. I know you're having a hard day. And I'm very thankful too, because I have a lot of people who will come stay with Jeffrey.
Yeah.
You need that support system
Yeah.
also.
You're absolutely right.
So it's I have a very, very good support system. And believe it or not, my youngest has and I have 3 children. My youngest now is 27.
Yeah.
Our middle daughter is 29, and then we have a son who's 31. And our middle one is a social worker.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
She has a very, positive outlook on life. Really, all 3 of my children are very positive.
That's great.
So they, if I start getting stressed out or something, they're like, Mom, take a deep breath.
Oh, that's great.
That, this too shall pass. My father-in-law used to say that to all of us. So
For
we
sure.
carried on that.
It
This
is
too
true.
shall pass. Yeah.
It is true. So now, as you know, and I have to say the real estate market has been to me all over the place. Even in the
Mhm.
last 2 years, 3 years, it seems, from when I look at, the number of transactions that we handle in our office compared to last year, compared to the year before, it's changing, and even month to month, it sometimes changes. So how do you and your team handle that? Like, is there a specific type of transaction that you really focus on? I'm curious, like when you're helping with real estate transactions.
Yes. So, because I have a team, we really have our own little niches, and we're able to support each other through each transaction. I have one of my team members is going to visit her family, in 2 days. So,
Yeah.
we're all pitching in, going to the home inspection, we're
Yeah.
doing whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
So with that, it's awesome because we get to work on what we love. So, I have a heart for 55 and above.
Got it. Yeah.
And I think partly because that's where I am. But that whole transition of, you're most likely in the house that you raised your children in, or, you married your spouse in and that's your first home. And now it's time to move to the next level. Maybe because of jobs, you retired, a sickness, for whatever reason. So it's that it's a big transition.
Mhm.
It's emotional. I remember downsizing, and I had to move out of the home that I raised my three kids in, and that was a lot. That was
That's
a
a
lot.
lot. All those memories,
Yes.
and I've seen that with families, it's almost bittersweet, you
Yes.
know
Yeah.
that you have, you want to move forward, and you're looking forward to something new, a new chapter, but then you also look back about those memories and it does hit you,
Yes. It is.
yeah,
So you need, I believe I'm able to help. I can empathize. I've been there. So when they're talking about moving, I get it. I completely understand. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy helping people really move to the next part of any part of their life.
fantastic.
A lot of times it's listing their home at the same time you're trying to purchase a home. That can be very tricky.
That
And
coordination, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I always say there's so much happening behind the scenes. The attorney's office, which your office is wonderful to work with because you keep the agent involved in everything. Sometimes the attorneys don't do that.
right.
Um, but it's very important. We're a whole team.
That's
And
exactly right.
you have to, in order for the transition to go smoothly, you have to work as a team. So it's
100%.
it's the attorney, it's the realtor, it's the lender, it's
Yeah.
title. And we
You have your
all,
inspectors and you have your
yes, we're all working together behind the scenes to make it a seamless transaction. And sometimes it's not, but
right.
we're working our hardest to make it that
Yeah.
way,
And
you know?
because I like to picture it, I remember in my early years, I remember I was in, you probably have seen this, Kim. I remember going to an office and they had a picture of a long canoe and many, many people in it holding their oars. And it was titled
Mm,
The Real Estate Transaction. So there was a title company, there was a mortgage rep, and there was a
mhm.
realtor, there was the attorney, the client.
Yeah,
And what I
yeah.
loved about it, it did say that oftentimes it's trying to get all those oars working in the same direction. That's the
Yes.
challenge. But when you do, it's powerful,
Yes.
And like you said, I agree. Not every transaction is smooth, but you will get them to that goal. You will. One way or the other.
Absolutely.
You'll get there.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, looking back on my career is, you do what needs to get done.
That's it.
I have put trash in my truck, and just because we walked in during, the walkthrough, and there's all kinds of trash everywhere. My client, was extremely upset. I said, "That's okay. That's okay. We're good to go." Started putting all the trash, and I brought it home, and I remember my husband saying, "Where did all this trash come from?" I said,
Oh, yeah.
you do what you have to do.
You
Did
do what you
I
have to
was
do.
not, I wanted my client to be happy. I didn't want her stressed out. Um, and she really was. It was a stressful, and I just said, it's okay. I got it.
That's
I
it.
got it. We'll get it done.
I
Uh,
remember as a young attorney, I did a closing and I had a little gift for the client, and this was before cell phones, Kim, so her phones weren't all in. I can't remember what happened. So I decided, let me just stop over. I'm going to drive to her house and let me just off this thing. And she was there, and then she showed me there were all these paint cans, and she goes, I don't know what to do with this. So me, young attorney, I go, I'll get rid of it. So I put there were like six of them, Kim, in the back of my car. Go home. And then my husband was like, what's all these paint cans? I said, they had to get, and he goes, these are not easy to get rid of. I go, huh?
Right.
Like, I don't even know what I was thinking, how to get rid of it. But he's
Right.
like, so he had to take them and bring them, to the
Yes.
I
Yep.
didn't
Yep.
know. He's like, these are not easy, crazy. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. He's like, oh my God.
But that you have the same exact, yes, that's it.
You just
Another
do it.
reason
Yeah,
why
I
I
didn't
love
even
you
think
so
twice.
much.
I was like, I'll take them. I didn't even
Yeah.
think twice. I was like, I'll take them. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, sure. And then my husband was like laughing. She was like, are you sure? Because she probably was thinking like, okay, I
She
guess you're
probably knew.
right. I didn't know. I thought it was
Yep.
funny. I was just like, I was young and anyway, but
Yeah.
so Kim, if a client, how would they contact you? What's the best way that they can contact you? Because I'm sure there are people listening to this, they're thinking like, I think I need Kim's help. Or even just to explore things. What's the best way to contact you?
Absolutely. So I answer my phone. So
Uh-huh.
my
What's
phone
that?
number is 609 1843. You can call or text me. And that really is the best way.
That's great. That's really
Yes.
good. And what we'll do, everyone who's listening to this, we're going to put all of Kim's information. We're going to be associated with this video, so you'll be able to look at it, refer to her, and call her. Because again, if you want someone on your team who's really there for you, who's sincere and passionate about making sure that you accomplish your goal, whether it's selling or buying, Kim is the woman. And like I said, we've worked with her for many transactions and nothing but rave reviews. The clients love her. I mean, I mean, the families that we help, they always love you, Kim. And I
Oh,
know, and I see that. And Kim and I, we have lunch together every Tuesday. We see each
mhm,
other, and I hear of all the good things you do. And you are always so generous with trying to help with your time
mhm.
because, when you help people, especially in this industry, it's a very time consuming industry. I don't even think you have any I mean, you don't have any cutoff time with your time, hours. I mean, there are
No,
times I
no,
see
no.
you texting in the evening and I'm always like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, what's happening?
Yep, yep, yeah.
Wonderful.
Usually, yeah. Usually at 10 p.m., I'm like, only when I go to sleep. That's when I'm not going to answer if I'm
Amazing.
sleeping.
Amazing, amazing, Kim. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for joining us. I mean, this was
You.
wonderful. I loved hearing your story. I love hearing, where you went, where you came from, and what you're currently doing. And that I love that you have a team and the women power, because we're
Yeah.
all into that as well.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I thank you for your time, Kim. Everyone, this was Kim Borghoff. She's with Berkshire Hathaway. I really encourage all of you, please chat with her, talk to her. And she's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to real estate. And we really love working with her. Thanks again, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you.